It may seem strange to people outside of our ranks, but we know that our companion that was given to us by God, it's actually not just our choice. Now, it is our choice. But when you look at it in reality, the church that you go to is not really your choice. The pastor that you sit under, it should not be your choice. I mean, I hear it all the time that there's people who actually come to Happy Valley, and I wasn't their choice of a pastor. That always makes me feel so wonderful. I mean, they're just being honest. They would have rather went here and there and there. And they're trying to make a point whenever they will tell me that. I'm so glad that they always tell me the point afterwards, because I'd probably just walk away very discouraged. But the point was that, well, Brother Donny, my first choice would have been to go here or there or there. But I just kept feeling the Lord was leading me here. And now I see why, because under your ministry we've changed and we've done this and that and the other. So it might be the same way with a mate. So the very one that God might have for you, initially you might look at them and they might look at you and they might not like you at all. And they'd think, what in the world is the matter with that girl? What in the world is the matter with that boy? Sort of like Carol did me when we initially met. I knew she'd come around, bless her heart. She was just a little bit slower than me, but she finally caught up. But God, when God gives us that something, it is truly a revelation. Now, I'm sure that all of you young people sitting here tonight have had revelations from God in your life, have you not? Whether it was serpent seed, God sending a prophet, whatever doctrinal thing, and you may have heard it since you was a little boy or a girl. But one day, reading your Bible, listening to a tape, sitting in a service, maybe at a youth camp or a banquet, all of a sudden, that doctrine that you had heard all of your life, and yet a preacher just went a little different angle than the way you'd ever heard it before, and it was just like a light bulb switched on, and you say, oh my goodness, I see it. Oh, I see it. Another saying, you see what? Serpent seed. Serpent seed, you've heard that since you was in Sunday school. But all of a sudden it becomes so real to you. What was that? A revelation from God. And a real mate that God puts together, that's what they really are. But Brother Donny, what about the brown eyes and the blue eyes and the broad shoulders and the tall, dark, and handsome? He might be short, fat, and squatty. Sister Sarah, are you saying amen? I noticed it was just one-sided there. But there's something about it when God puts you together that time can never separate. Sickness, heartache can never separate. I love the way that Brother Branham deals with this in Kinsman Redeemer. When a man loves a woman and marries her because she's just pretty, there'll be an end to that. But when a man finds a woman that he loves, he don't know why. Now, how odd is that? Now, that would be the very opposite of the way most people would describe what we call falling in love. Y'all familiar with the term, right? I mean, surely to goodness, that ain't outdated, falling in love. So some people say it's love at first sight. And truly for some, it might be that way. But for most people, it's probably the term that I just used, falling in love. So you're around that person and you get to liking them more and more and you become more compatible and all these things are going together. So what's happening? You're falling in love with that individual. But if you can write down all the answers of why you love that person, I would advise you not to marry them. Brother Donny, you didn't catch the quote. He said, when a man finds a woman that he loves, he don't know why. Oh, she's pretty. She's, her hair is certain color, her eyes. He's this tall, dark, handsome, or short, whichever. And whenever they, and then every one of those things you listed might change. So as the electrician was up on the roof of a certain Baptist church, and he's repairing an electrical wire. And he gets into that wire, and his body grounds the wire. And his face, a married man with children, nearly all of his face caught on fire and burned off. So if his wife married him because he was handsome, and she goes to the hospital, his flesh is melted. He has no eyes, no nose. True story. No lips. They do surgery after surgery after surgery. As a matter of fact, this man is the first one in the United States to get a full face transplant. So if she married him because of looks, she would have a right to divorce him and marry another. But what if she married him because she loved him? And she couldn't really define, oh yeah, his looks was certain so-and-so, his eyes, his hair, this and that and the other. You can ask a lot of the men in our church. That hair might go in time. Uh-oh. And if it don't turn loose, it will turn gray. So it's going to turn one way or the other. So when a person, notice how he says this, a man finds a woman, he loves her, and he don't know why he loves her, and she finds the man that she loves. Boy, sisters, this is a tough quote to swallow. No matter what he looks like. Brother Rob, you should have said amen right there, buddy. He loves her, she loves him. Listen what this is. That's an eternal mate in glory. Death nor nothing else can ever separate them, because they are from eternity and stepped out into a space of time and will return back to eternity. Eternity has dropped down in a body called time, and it goes right back up into eternity again. It cannot perish. So how do you know when someone is right, the right one that God has for you? You pray. You look at it. Now, there's nothing wrong with looking at the differences that you have. And you've heard me say it before, that whenever I'm counseling a couple that's going to be engaged to get married, and most of them will come to me before they get engaged, and we're praying about it, and I will ask them, do you love each other? Yes, yes. Have you prayed about it? Yes. Have you talked to her father? Yes, we've got his blessing. And then I'll say, do you like each other? Yeah, that's what they always do. They always laugh. Why do y'all laugh when I say that? Now, the reason I ask that is because after counseling 40 plus years of married people, what I find is many times things that get on one another is things they don't like about one another. It's not that they don't love each other anymore, but it's just the habitual day-to-day activity. Say some of you guys don't pick up your clothes very well. Now, I'm not saying, I'm just saying, I'm not saying that there's anybody guilty here. And all right, we got a brother here under conviction. Lay your hand on him, Mercedes. So he doesn't pick up his shoes very well. And each of us have our makeup. The girl was raised in her norm. The boy was raised in his norm. And when you come together, what are you going to do? You're going to have trade-offs. And you're going to find a new norm and create a new one. But the difficult part is being able to merge together. But if you've got real love by which you can base it on, your love will be stronger than your dislikes for this, that, and other. Now, my wife, Carol, she is a neat person. I mean, she loves neat. Super neat, the more neat, the better it is. Well, I'm the type of guy, if I'm working on something, I've got this drawer open, that drawer open, this door open. It don't make no sense to me to get screw out and put it back together, get it open the door, get another screw out, do that. It don't make no sense. So I've got cabinets down in my basement, and I like to build woodworking and taxidermy work and different things that I do down there. So I've got cabinets that stand about this tall, double doors, you open them up. Well, I've got wood here, I've got, feathers over here, I've got snake skins here, I've got this. So if I'm doing a taxidermy something for some of the brothers, I may have 8 or 10 of these cabinets open at one time. That is until Carol comes downstairs. Now, Carol's only going to be there 10 or 15 minutes. But as Carol comes by each double door, them double doors don't close automatically. But Carol automatically closes them for me. So she'll come through and close every one of them. And when she leaves, now I have to exert more energy to open every one of them back up. I see you're laughing. But you'd be surprised how many people that I've counseled that have had things just this simple and causes the office problem ever was. Oh, I dealt with an issue several years ago. A man and wife, it was nearly a divorce case. They called me, it was screaming, it was hollering, it was awful. And it was simply because she wanted breakfast for supper, but he wanted supper for supper. You think that's funny, did you? I'll call you the next time they call me. Did they love each other? Of course. Of course. Would they wish harm on either one? No. But it was just the likes and the dislikes. Real love can look at the flaws of that man that you want to marry. And they don't have to say, no, they don't exist. No, I close my eyes to any of her faults. You better look at them, buddy. That's going to be what's going to aggravate you. But if you love her more than her faults, and you love him more than his faults and his shortcomings, sounds like to me y'all stepped out of eternity together to live here in a body called time. So don't be afraid to look at shortcomings. And don't be afraid to be able to acknowledge, well, this is fine. No, that's okay. I have no problem with that. Because our love will help us to deal with it. That's the way real love is. That's the way he loves us. He looked at us and knew we would cause him so much pain, even after we got saved. But he loved us so much, he said, I'm willing. I'm willing to embrace you with all your shortcomings. Aren't you glad? Boy, I'll tell you one thing, if Jesus didn't love me like that, there'd be no hope for me. How do you know when someone is right, the right one God has for you? Again, approach it prayerfully, open-hearted, open mind, be able to look and see, are you compatible? And don't just look at him, but whenever I'm counseling sisters, I will tell them, that young man that you're looking at, see how he treats his mama. See how he treats his sisters if he has them. That'll give you a pretty good idea of how he's going to treat you. Because if he has inferiority complexes toward women, if he's raised by a strong woman in the house, he may take that out on you once you're married. I might ought to go into this office here and finish this. And it's the same way, young men, whenever you are looking to marry a girl. Look and see how she treats her daddy. Look and see how she treats her brothers, her uncles. Look and see how she treats the pastor or other men of authority in her life. Because don't think she's going to despise the pastor and her father and every other male figure in her life, and all of a sudden, oh, she's just going to melt in your arms and everything is going to be wonderful. You're dreaming, boy. I should say you've got a nightmare. Why? Because there's something in her that has molded her that way. Real love can look at that. Now see, some of y'all thinking, I'll never be married. I'd rather for you to delay it and find the right one. I don't want to talk to you all in there. Right? So when it's real love, it can look at the flaws, the shortcomings, the mistakes, and there's something in you that drives you toward that individual because it'll be God that pulls you together. Clear?